Hello, welcome to my channel. I am very comfortable right now. This is my first YouTube video. My name is Karina. Welcome. I want to make some video essays about feminism and media, and what better way to start that off than talking about Barbie. I watched it a few days ago, had some time to process my thoughts. Obviously, there's a lot to think about there. Greta Gerwig really packed the film with a lot of spirituality that was surprising. It was also weirdly fantastical. Anyways, I'm not going to get into any spoilers. There will be no spoilers in this video because I'm not going to actually touch too much on what happens in the film. This is more just for Barbie lovers or people who are obsessed with hyperfemininity and want people to take that seriously. I think that Greta Gerwig did an amazing job of taking hyperfemininity seriously and staying true to that element of Barbie, although it is radical and has received a lot of criticism. That's a huge part of bimboism and bimbo feminism, which we'll be breaking down and talking about today. I'll be breaking down how the groundwork was already laid in terms of society's shift in perception toward bimboism and bimbo feminism in order for Barbie to be successful. Let's talk about the history of Barbie and her cultural impact. The Barbie doll was officially created in 1959 by an American businesswoman named Ruth Handler. The inspiration for Barbie came very interestingly. At the time, of the 50s and the 60s, young girls didn't have any other dolls like Barbie to play with. They only had baby dolls. Young girls were traditionally encouraged to play with baby dolls to kind of push them into their maternal instinct, aka push them into motherhood, which is the ideal model of womanhood at the time. Good old Ruth, she noticed that her daughter Barbara was more interested in adult conversations and teenagers. She was more interested in that than playing with baby dolls and being a mother figure to them. Ruth honed in on that and created Barbie. Where else have you seen a doll with boobs that dresses so stylishly? That really pushed against the grain of what was expected for young girls to aspire to be at the time, because now they had a new template for womanhood. Barbies could be, these business execs, they could be doctors, and Mattel actually argues that Barbie was a reflection of what women could be and often achieved things before women were even able to in time. So she served as like a model for them. Some good examples are that Barbie bought her first dream house in 1962 before women could even open bank accounts. She went intergalactic in 1965, 4 years before humankind ever landed on the moon. And over the course of her existence, she held over 250 careers. I know. Girl boss, right? But we know that Barbie has also been a large cultural pain point for all of us. She's perpetrated some harmful bodily sizes and stereotypes. She's portrayed only one version of femininity and womanhood, which is hyperfemininity. She's lacked racial diversity. These are kind of like the three main critiques of Barbie, which Mattel over the course of, the next few decades after releasing Barbie kind of tried to remedy by like releasing a Black Barbie and a Latin American Barbie in the 1980s. And then more recently in like 2016, they released Barbies that had like 3 different body sizes. So they tried to offer some body diversity. Of course, all of this really feels like an afterthought, but that was kind of Mattel's response to those criticisms. In the case with this 2023 version of Barbie, this reimagining from Greta Gerwig, it's interesting to take these criticisms into consideration because even when you just look at like the trailer or some of the promotional material, the joke, and this is a quote from Samantha N. Shepard, a professor of cinema and media studies at Cornell University. She said this in a recent Washington Post article. The joke is that historically Barbie has been criticized for being too feminine, too exclusionary, for being a representation of white womanhood. And here she is in this trailer, a parody of herself in a world filled with Barbies and Kens of all shapes, sizes, colors, and professions. The trailer is hyper aware of the current moment in visual culture. The film knows that its consumers are self-aware, self-obsessed, and a product of the get ready with me moment of pop culture. This is super important because social media and the get ready with me-ness of this culture, the self-awareness, the self-obsession are also integral to the film and this portrayal of Barbie, but at an underlying level, bimboism, bimbo core, bimbo talk. So let's break down what bimbo feminism is and how Barbie plays into this. In case you missed it, over the last year or two, there's been a complete reclamation over the term bimbo. The word bimbo was primarily used as a derogatory slang term typically used toward women, meaning conventionally attractive, sexualized, naive, and unintelligent women. So essentially the dumb blonde stereotype. Over time, this was broken down and remixed, and by 2017, there was a bimbo movement. This was founded by self-proclaimed bimbo and adult star Alicia Amira, the woman most responsible for popularizing the idea of reclaiming hyperfemininity. By the early 2020s, Gen Zs took to TikTok to completely further reclaim the word by creating a bimbo community, aka Bimbo Talk. Here, they engaged in stereotypical hyperfemininity aesthetics while also offering really valuable critique on consumerism, capitalism, heteronormativity, patriarchy, trans-exclusionary radical feminism. The Rolling Stone describes TikTok bimbos as all-inclusive, gender-neutral leftist icons whose core tenets include being pro-sex work, pro-LGBTQ, pro-BLM, and anti-straight white male. So to put it kind of simply, the bimbo movement is all about embracing styles that are typically regarded as hyperfeminine, hypersexual, girly, and placing an emphasis on vapidity, like encouraging pleasure and leisure and feeling over thinking. This almost comes in direct response to the girl boss grind that came right before it, where value is placed more on equal domination to men and domination in a capital sense of how much you could achieve and accomplish, whereas bimbo feminism is more about enjoying and indulging in life or material pleasure or romantic pleasure, like whatever pleasure that comes in, just like indulging in that, while also being self-aware of the politics of it all. And through that juxtaposition, understanding what political gains would be necessary to kind of accomplish this bimboism: abortion rights, universal health care, student loan debt cancellation. Now, all of this to say that bimboism and bimbo feminism has been completely reclaimed as a feminist concept, as a way to subvert the male gaze and praise femininity. And this is really apparent in the way that a lot of films that were originally released and not received with any appreciation or admiration are now kind of having a revival moment where they're now achieving cult classic status. And a great example of this is Jennifer's Body. At the time of release, Jennifer's Body was kind of marketed as if it was more catered toward men because obviously Megan Fox was a leading actress, and so people thought that this was more skewed toward a male audience, although the film has so many themes that offer critiques on heteronormativity and the patriarchy. Now, as we know, Jennifer's Body has had a complete revival in recent years and a newfound appreciation because now the audiences or our culture is kind of primed and prepared for this type of content and understanding it and digesting it and seeing that we can be aware of the male gaze, but we can also indulge in, the beauty of Megan Fox. What I find so interesting is that Diablo Cody, who wrote Jennifer's Body, was also hired to write Barbie about 10 years ago, and the film was a completely different concept at that time. Diablo Cody says that she had tried to write the film for so long but couldn't turn in a draft because the culture had not embraced the femme or the bimbo as valid feminist archetypes yet. If you look up Barbie on TikTok, you'll find this wonderful subculture that celebrates the feminine, but in 2014, taking the skinny blonde white doll and making her into a heroine was a tall order. So Cody had originally kind of written Barbie as more of an anti-Barbie film, and I think Amy Schumer was reportedly connected to play Barbie and a version of Barbie that gets kicked out of Barbie Land because she's not, Barbie enough, whatever that means. And so it's more of an anti-Barbie story. Diablo Cody also said that they had kind of wanted her to write it as more of a girl boss feminist twist, but she couldn't actually stay true to the iconography of Barbie because that's just not who Barbie is. And in this interview, she references a time where Greta Gerwig instructed Margot Robbie that the key to playing Barbie was a lack of introspection. And this really highlights that kind of bimbo feminism aspect of it, that society just was not ready for at the time that Diablo Cody was writing Barbie, which kind of sucks because society was also just not ready for Jennifer's Body. So Diablo Cody just keeps getting the short end of the stick. But yeah, I think the story of Diablo Cody originally trying to write Barbie, but realizing that the culture was just not ready for the story of a bimbo icon, the story of a blank slate of femininity in which we can just project our hopes and dreams and imagination onto, because that's what Barbie is and was. That's how people played with Barbies. They cut their hairs, changed them, and manipulated them to be whoever they wanted them to be. She was a blank slate, plastic blank slate. She was a bimbo icon. And in the film, there is a moment where she is called a bimbo and she kind of breaks down crying. I've heard so many people say, like, why hasn't there been a Barbie movie already? Why hasn't this been done before? I'm curious, like, do you think that this could have been done at any other point in history and been received the way that it is being received right now as such a brilliant representation of womanhood that is very much aligned with the way that we see and have reclaimed bimbo feminism and this idea of women embracing femininity and hyperfemininity in a very radical way in which they typically otherwise would not have been taken seriously. And so to take it seriously at such a massive scale in this film and in this huge production, and for the reception to be so positive, feels kind of radical. So I'm curious to know, like, do you think that Barbie would have been as successful if it was released 10 years ago? Or do you think it would be the case of Jennifer's Body, where it's not appreciated until nearly like a decade or two later? Anyways, that's it. I hope this video wasn't too mumbly jumbly, and let me know what you think. That's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy Barbie and go see it in theaters and wear pink.